branded about a year and a half ago, and we're doing business as Oklahoma Parkinson's Alliance. And so, everyone confused about that. We're both. The Oklahoma Parkinson's Alliance is our new branding. And we're local to Oklahoma. We live here. We work here. We are an Oklahoma nonprofit. Our main office is in Oklahoma City. We have an office in Tulsa. You'll hear from Matt later today. He's our development director and runs our Tulsa office. We also have a crew here from Lawton today. And Rob is here with us. He's our local. So if we need all the excitement from the crowd, we know where to go. I will tell you, when we do the walks around the state in Oklahoma City, Tulsa, and Lawton, no dance party at one of those walks breaks out any more than we want. That is the truth. Good folks here from a lot of different places today. We did our cultural conference a couple of weeks ago, and it was fantastic. We provide things all over the state. So you have something to do between doctor's visits. Now, it's crucial that you get to a really good neurologist and that you optimize your medications. But it's also crucial and very complementary that you stay active between those visits in support and education and exercise and lifestyle. And from the schedule, you can see you're going to hear about some of that today as well. We just wrapped up our Blitz in the month of October. We did about 22 cities across the state, and we're glad to do so. So we have partners at the Blitz, we have partners here in the conference, and we're so glad to have all these folks with us today. We have Select Physical Therapy is over here with us. They're a great partner. We've got Abby with us today. Just leave your applause for me again. Taylor Chiang is here, as well as senior helpers. Right over there, we've got Acadia with us today, and helping us right at home. Greg will be doing Elvis impersonations later. Abbott is here with us today. Also, our first speaker at the table, if you like what Carol's talking about, you want to talk to her later, she'll be right over here. If you get hungry, we have snacks at the back. We also have an open food over here today, and you can test drive some healthy, model-friendly food. Those will help you out with that. Boston Scientific is here today. Andrew is here. Surprise are very clear. Medtronic, all great partners along the way. Let's see, which way do I want to start from? Recorder is right over here. We have Knockout Boxing and SpecificSolutions. Also, Senior Care Referral Services and Seniors Helping Seniors. I don't think I missed anyone. So we have a lot of partners. We're kind of limited to 20, and this one we very easily could have had 30 to 50 people here in maybe a larger venue, but this is such a nice place to get in and out of typically. And St. Luke's is always such a wonderful host to this event. So, welcome. We're glad you're here. Look at the person next to you, and just go and tell them how glad you're here. All of you didn't feel weird. Okay, that's great. All right. So, just to get us warmed up a little bit, many of you have done this with me, but I love to do it. We're going to do a little bit more of this during the 2 o'clock hour, but I feel like we just need to get stretched out a little bit so we're ready for Carol. Okay, so, who's going to start? All right, reach for the ground. A little bit of complexity here, you know this, a lot of you on the elbow, up and down, a little bit of complex exercise, now perpendicular with the other. This is like patting your belly and your tummy at the same time. And they'll switch. And if you mess up, it's okay, that means it's working. Alright? Alright, there you go. Okay, roll your shoulders a little bit. Alright, let's do some claps. Alright. Alright, we're here. Alright. I want to tell you about Carol Chiang. Carol is a home modification occupational therapist, neurosurgeon, and aging in place expert. He is a former Olympic caliber athlete. McGill Sports Hall of Fame inductee in 2012. She's been a clinician for 25 years, with experience working in most settings from acute inpatient rehab, outpatient home health, and private practice. She is a certified Parkinson's wellness recovery therapist, as well as a master trainer for urban players. If you want to know what that is, go ask her there. She's the founder of Evolving Homes, which helps homeowners create a plan for their future. Consultations include discussions over financial planning, caregiver availability, and options for beautiful accessibility. Carol is a consultant to many large companies such as Toyota Research Institute, AARP, Age Tech Collaborative, and Habitat for Humanity to help them develop solutions for older adults. She specializes in providing education to non-clinicians and assistance with business development strategies. She's been on a roll lately with some really big deals. National USARP, a pilot TV show about luxury aging in place, and again, she's spoken at several conferences just in the past year on a national level. She enjoys challenges, and she even climbed Mount Kilimanjaro in 2002. She has lived abroad now. And for many years, and she speaks multiple languages, including English, French, and Chinese. We are very excited to have her here today, and she's going to speak with us all in English. Let's welcome Carol.
Not good at saying, as you can probably imagine, I'm going to have to walk the talk. Alright, I'm so excited to be here, and I was telling earlier that I hope to change a lot of my presentation because I discovered that people in the helmet don't use silent phones, so I can't wait until you start seeing some of these videos because you're going to realize how cool it is, okay? So first, get a great introduction. Basically, my business is in Florida, but I do primarily virtual aging assessments, mostly because it's so important to get feedback from multiple people, not just the person. So lots of people, kids, from all around the state, so we do Zoom calls. I'm going to... There we go. So I tell people, really, I'm here for caregiving. What I do is I help caregivers get confidence in those assessments. You can search these things on Google, answers about what should I buy, what kind of board should I put in, but ultimately it's a little bit of a guess, and sometimes the consequences are significant. So people will text me and go, are you sure I'll have to get the contact and I've got all the apps to take us right through to this, all right? And I'm like, totally fine. So really what I do is I help people feel confident in those decisions. The top one, thank you. I told you that I have is different. All right, so let me tell you a quick story. So how did Parkinson's touch my life? This is my father and I said. And a few years ago, he had a fall. And when they discovered that it was my business, he said I was really sad. I've been in IT for 25 years, right? But I'm really good at taking care of spinal cord patients, strokes, I can get them from life right from the beginning all the way to Boston. But Parkinson's is always super hard. And the reason it's hard was because he failed it. And until maybe 7 to 10 years ago, we really didn't understand that exercise is the only thing to slow the progression of Parkinson's disease. So, luckily for me, though, I had a friend who was a Parkinson's specialist. He lived an hour away from me, so that was our first stop. So we took a little trip over to Chiang, and I'm going to tell you a little story about that. Because Melanie and I went to university together in Canada. So we were both swimmers. We were both athletes, and we were swimmers. She was a runner. And our coaches had places next to each other. So she came and trained with us. So we were as a clinician, we were as an athlete, and after college, we basically left us. And so she just by accident, she just happened to be the mentor for one of my two couples. And I was on maternity leave, and she happened to look at a picture of me on my footboard, and she was like, is that Carol? And that's how we figured out we were both living in Florida. I don't know, 15, 20 years after graduation. So, anyway, but luckily for me, what's her substitute? Parkinson. So now, we team up all the time. She sends me plans because she doesn't have enough to take care of that, and anybody who I have within the PhD of that ecosystem is still teaching out the PhD because they've got 5 specialty clinics that are just for Parkinson's. But being in the clinic was something that changed my life. It wasn't just about my hobby, because she taught me about Parkinson's wellness recovery exercises, which is what I used to know like this. It's a specific kind of exercise, targeted exercises that are specific to the problems that people with Parkinson's have. And urban polling is what I got today. What that one is Parkinson's specific, and they invented that. It's a nursery that invented that in Canada about 17 years ago. Her neighbor was a Scandinavian born person, and she figured, hey, now we're using this for rehab. This is awesome, because they can use some of this kind of motion, sideways movement. Walker is this way, and there's like 2 primary motions that people with Parkinson's suffer from. So instead, people say, well, why don't we try long, and then long motions, and left side, left side. So let's try it. I'm going to show you a little video. What's more amazing is both of these things. So both of these things are things that change how I take care of all of my patients. So the orthopedic ones, the stroke ones, anybody with like a left-sided limb or they broke their ankle and they are asymmetrical. Because your goal is always to be symmetrical. Think about a car. If you run over something and your axle is weird, you're going to run the tires off on one side, right? That's what you're doing with your body. Your body is exactly like a car. You've got your engine that goes to your heart, you've got all the wheels right here that are responsible for keeping it upright. You need to make sure that if you do end up having a fall or injury, a unilateral injury, that you get back to your normal as soon as possible. Because your brain remembers that. So I love this one because it's the idea that moving water can't breathe. You always have to be moving. If you're not moving, you're going to be stiff. Or stuck like this, or stuck this way. You have to be really intentional doing that. And I wanted to tell you a story. My mother had knee surgery maybe 6 months ago. But really, within about 6 weeks, she was already using poles and using poles to get up and down. And I have a video on my website that you can look at later. But it's really, you can see how bad the scar is. And she says that she can't do all of those today without using the poles. And she proved it to me one time because she picked off her poles one day when she got on the bus, she got on the subway and everything. She came home and she said, oh my gosh, I was in so much pain, you can't even believe it. And what's the only difference? Alright, so let's look here. Alright, so who likes to be tried? You don't heard it, right? Well, Ninja, he's like the American Ninja Warrior. Okay, he's a young onset, young onset Parkinson's, I think he was the 20s, something like that. The story was that he was walking his infant child down the set of stairs and slipped and fell. That was a huge wake-up call. I was like, oh my gosh, like I can't live my life like this. I'm overweight, I'm out of shape. Yes, I have Parkinson's, but with depression and leading it like this is just not going to help anyone. So I can help my kids who don't have a better way either. So he made a change in his life. So I think what I'm trying with the difference in how it affects how exercise makes a difference in what you do. But I also understand the idea that that seems like a really long way from where you are sitting most of the day, right? I mean, it's just like the gap is enormous. So I want you to remember that, every doctor was like the beginner. I told you he was very overweight, he was very out of shape. And I wanted to share a personal story here. When I first started my human application business, my rule was, I'm not going to ask the contractor to clean anything that I don't know how to do myself. And to my husband's chagrin, there are probably 12 holes in there. We're all looking for a stud. But you know what? You gotta learn somehow. And I tell my kids, break eggs anywhere, and burn toast anywhere, and you know what? There's something called drywall mud. You can patch that baby up, right? All right, so everybody can do it. If you fall on your face, no big deal. You can get back up again. But you just have to start. You gotta take one step forward, figure out what it is that you're going to do. But the more that you do it, the better you're going to go. So, I want to just talk a little bit about the elephant in the room. So how many people have helped us? You get a diagnosis of Parkinson, and all of a sudden everyone's doing something. You can't move. No standing up. No walking by yourself. No more runs. No more this. No more that. Nobody has this experience. I mean, those are easy experiences when people say, okay, well, if you don't do this, right, you can't fall. But to me, that's not living life. That's kind of restrictive. That's saying I can't do any of these things. So I'm just going to take a second to make sure we're all on the same wavelength about what we're going to talk about, which is problems and solutions. So, basically what I tell people to do is I just give you information. I'm not telling you what to do or anything people say no for, to be their expert, to be that person that does yourself. So if you have one of those right there, great. Figure it out. But my job is just to give you all the facts. Your job is to decide to best fit your body in your life. What's important to you? I think one of the things that I was going to say was, we have non-negotiables in your life, right? So I'm from Canada. What is that? So now, 15, right? Really healthy, right? So it's a non-negotiable in my life. If I'm in Canada, nobody here told me I'm not going to eat fries, cheese, and gravy. Maybe I'm not eating it every day, but I ain't eating fries, cheese, and gravy. I know that that's not good for my heart, and somebody would probably get upset about me. But I'm true to it. I'm willing to take that risk for the joy of crazy. And I'll tell you, I discovered since being in Oklahoma that I have Oklahoma non-negotiables. Do you want to know what they are? Brown ice cream. Where I'll go in there and go, what would you like? And I'll have one of those and those and those. People say, are you sure that's so sweet? Like, yes, I am. And then last night, I discovered this Asian restaurant, probably right there at the bottom of one of the buildings, and they made a tiny deep fried chicken with basil in it. And it is the best chicken that I've had outside of Thailand. I mean, I've traveled all over Asia. And these guys just do everything exactly right. They literally make the bun one side, but, and that was a big bowl of chicken, so what did I do? I said, okay, yes, it's bad for me. Got it. So, I'm going to walk you 30 minutes back to my hotel instead of going to Uber. That was my happening. So, I think what I'm trying to tell you is that you got to just think about, you know what it is. You decide that you're going to take that risk. And balance it out. Find a way to make that work with your life. So putting your big rock, tell them it's made up to. Okay? Fill in all the other things. You figure out what needs to stand in order for you to have what you do. All right. So, I think one of the gifts of Parkinson is that it makes you look at your life. And it makes you clarify what's really important to me. What do I need? Who's the person in my life that I can't live without? Or what's the group that I have to get to every single time? And I talk about this drug example all the time because people say, let's pick up the drug. And I said, well, if that is a great grandmother drug and it's really important to you, that brings you joy every time, well, we got to look at the outside solution. I mean, that's the it's not going to happen. So to me, you have to think about what are your non-negotiables? What are the things in your life that are not going anywhere, and everybody else has to figure out what to do? All right. So we're going to get into a little bit of some of the solutions. And remember, these are just challenges that I see over and over and over again. Okay? So I'm not telling you anything else, just recruiting information. So, first thing is aging in place is something that you want. You got to know what you need to do. Most people are thinking blood bars, more blood bars, which for me is handy because blood bars get stuff like that. Blood bars are on the wall. But blood bars are an easy solution also, but they're not for it. If you look at the bigger picture, though, of aging in place, you need, yes, it's more important to have an open, safe space for you to walk in. So, you're clicking on things and not falling. The primary goal is how do I make space where I don't fall a lot or I don't fall at all. Okay? It's unreasonable when I choose to say you're never going to fall. You will fall, but you will hopefully with your skills and with more exercise, know how to get yourself off the ground. So you pick yourself up and you say, okay, like maybe I need to up my physical therapy because I'm like weak and I'm falling a lot more. Now, if you look in the bottom here, it says lifestyle habits. Well, that's water drinking. Water drinking is a huge problem. It's so crazy because the secrets to aging are all three. There's sleep, water, and exercise. But they're a lot of work. But I put this up there because it's not as your place if you're in and out of the hospital either. So if you have UTIs and you're falling, or you are not taking your meds on time, or you don't have good routines that you wake up at random times, you take your meds at random times, you will spend most of your time in the hospital. You will not be able to age a prescription. That won't be one of those priorities. And your remote monitoring is because a lot of people live alone, and you can't live in a house and be an island. You need to be able to have access to the outside. And not only for 24/7 support, but also for other things, like doctor visits, or social things, or whatever. You need a way to access the outside world. So, what's the cheapest thing that you can do? Clean up. Isn't that the hardest? Right? I was on the news when we were in Tulsa, and I was saying, everybody needs like this little mini Marie Kondo in your pocket that says, like, look, which category does this go in, Don't get hung up on the nostalgia. You need to, make the decisions and things. Because, and you're doing it because you need open spaces. And Parkinson's in particular, like this is for everybody, but Parkinson's in particular is really unique. And people get a lot more freedom when they're in smaller spaces. So trying to go through doorways, trying to go through narrow spaces, trying to find something, something like that. Your Parkinson's spaces are much, much more likely to fall than an average person. So I would recommend this for everybody. So my recommendation for a Christmas gift is a professional organizer, or maybe somebody from ACM to come and move boxes or cook stuff while you do that. These are excellent gifts to somebody else because they don't even realize the stress that they have from living in bigger environments like that. So once it goes really like, I can't wait to just come out. Alright, what's another easy one? Be very low. Increase the light. Again, another really good one for lots of people with aging, but especially with Parkinson's, you want to, the automatic reaction kind of goes south, and what you want is to be able to use light to direct you to like this visual feedback, tactics or visual cue to say, go this way, okay? So I think about it like pocket travel. So if you're going from a bedroom to bathroom, then it could be an automatic light, motion detective light, that flips on immediately as soon as I take a step that direction, and it keeps going all the way. So, I'm really close to that. This is like when it's under the bed LED, like, in there. It's $15. Most people have a plug by their bed, you can put in your lamp. Set in the thin little sticky thing, stick it in there, turns on as soon as the heat comes down. Your cat collar is really interesting where it replaces the socket and it has a little light built into it. The reason people like that is because then they're not trying to do night Parkinson's dementia sometimes when they're in the house, you just keep thinking that relates to that one, not realizing that it's something. The question you have to ask yourself, though, is, what are you like? Are you a value person, a plug-in person, or a hardwired person? And in all situations, it is the difference between the pros and cons. So I have changed that. It's just like a small difference. Okay, so I'm much more likely, I'm going to call her off my list and say, okay, I'm much more likely to be a plug-in or hardwired. Then the question is, well, do I have money for hardware? Hardware, you've got to hire an electrician. $50 an hour or anything? Something like that? You know, a plug-in having the skills triple. So, am I self-aware? Am I going to look down and see, or is there a place where I can take it back from there? This is like you have like neck stiffness. My father-in-law is terrible with that. He just can't tip his neck down, and it's actually difficult to go to taking medications because it's really hard to take them when you don't have neck motion. But think about it. You have to think about what are you like? So this is not a blanket solution. This is what you have to ask yourself what your personality is and match the solution for that. But this is very inexpensive also. Everything on Amazon is probably $20. I like to call that as reassurance. I prefer horizontal ones. Primarily because I want people to know that there's something there if you need it. So I'll put them up from being helpful to thorough or around corners, like, bedrooms, bathrooms, and outdoor spaces. Corners are really tough for pieces of furniture because they don't turn your head, shoulders, and into the step. That's the hard thing. And that is a power step move that we teach all the time because clients will tend to do this. And they rotate all the form one way or one big block. So if they have something to at least hold on to and you guide them and how the tactile down, it's very helpful. So think about, what areas that you might want to get to to run your fingers along so that you know that if you were to suddenly feel weak or dizzy, that you could just hold on really tight because you know it's going to walk up. And I want to dispel the myth that rebels are not likely. There are lots of things out there that we don't see at Lowe's and Home Depot. Lowe's and Home Depot don't make money on things like this. Okay? And so most people are pointing to it, they would be like this red one right here, they're from Italy. I mean, it's probably a $500 ball for what just buy. But it's that you have options that you know. And for people where that is something that's really important to them, that's something that they can do. And some people love it because the attachments are all the same. So they can change the colors of the bars that they want. Because it's entirely there. It's not you're permanently attached to that color. These other bottom ones, are really beautiful and they're multifunctional. So I'm all about function. I love anything that's dual function. So a 2-in-1 storage in a shower, plus as a grab bar. So I love that kind of thing. These ones are translucent, ponytail, that towel bar up there. I mean, there's totally those kind of things that people do because they're so easy to use and you don't even notice that they're there. Alright, and the really easy thing for color contrast is looking at black and white. A lot of people have white bathrooms, and the cool thing is that black is really inside of them. So doing a black, the insurance rail that goes across there or something to get up and down from a space, and people ask, well, where's that paint? And I don't use the ADU thing, use the body. Stand there, figure out where would it be comfortable. Remembering also that when you're tired, especially if you have Parkinson's when you first wake up, you may be more like this and not here. And so think about that. And then you have to think about the function. I had a patient before who would have constipation issues that would kind of back and forth between constipation and diarrhea. She had a lot of nighttime or middle of the day showers that she would for her husband to help her manage those things. So that particular patient, they were really low. And if somebody would walk in here and they're like, is this the pediatric shower? What's going on around here? But it's because it was based on her function, not about what ADU said, which is, by the way, commercial, it's not residential. But it's so that she can be reasonable so that she can get better access. So you have to think about function. Why are we doing this? Okay. So, of course, the zero entry showers are going to be your gold standard. But, like you heard me say before, those are expensive, so easy solutions are expensive. However, sometimes I think that that is actually really worth it for patients with Parkinson, and I'll tell you why. It's because even with the little ledgers that are 3 inches, 4 inches, people tend to not think that they're bringing their legs here, but they bring their legs here, and they miss it, and they don't touch it. And, you know, the last thing you need is a fear of falling. Because as soon as you have a fall, you already have a 50% chance of falling again. So you gotta feel hurt as soon as you can. And people, when they fall, a lot of times they start feeling a lot more, and they start taking small tiny steps like this, and they just might start going right like that, so they change the way that they do that. So we're trying to change things long-term. One long-term way is just try to get rid of those legs if you can have a choice. So we're going to talk a little bit more about what is Parkinson-specific challenges. So these are the ones that are here over and over and over again. I'm going to give you some ideas about how some people get started. So the excessive stand at the toilet, in most cases, it is, I can't get up. And when I go to their house, and I say, "Hey, can you get up on the toilet?" And they're on the toilet, they're sitting way back, like this, they're sitting. And I'm like this. Are you pregnant? What's going on? Because nobody can get up like that. I can't get up like that. Okay? It's just no way. So it has to do with how you're doing things. You have to scoot to the edge of the space. Okay? You have to put your feet firmly on the floor. You need to have nose over your toes. And then you stick your bottom up in the air, and then you can stand up. Okay? So it's process-based. It's how you're doing it. That's the problem. Now, sometimes you need some cues to tell you, this is how I need to do this. So in this particular one, you can see the armrests are there. And I actually don't like that particular kind of armrest because I think they're way too high. I don't know why they make them like that. In this particular one, I had a client who was like this, and I was trying to get her to not fall off the toilet. So that's what that was for. But the do make lower ones that you can attach to the back of the toilet seat just to push that on, right? So that you can nose at your toes, push, and then you're pulling up. Now, another way to make you do that is to give you visual cues. So that's a toilet with a hardware, so it's round one like this. So the reason it's there is because what I want is for her to move forward, and that reminds her of the toes. And she'll pull this thing forward, and then she can push up. So having something on the wall is an easy way to encourage people to remember what's the step I need to do. The grip tip at the bottom is because some of the other reasons people say is some posture slipping. My legs are coming up the other way. And of course, as you told me earlier, it's really not like this approach your legs that way, right? Just to make things easier, you can buy the silicone foot tape that's really soft on your feet. It's called Pattern, and it's like $20 for a little roll, and you're using a strip right in front of it. And I do all of those to do in the shower. I also really like them for external spaces, it's with different pictures. In front of the living room, my father-in-law, I did a whole bunch of that right in the living room because they have some photos to roll. The last one over there is also another grab bar. It's called a grab bar. And that one is a really great solution. We have that typical bathroom, little bathrooms that have a tub here, a toilet here, and a wall that is front. And the reason I like that is because it reminds me of being forward, hold on to it like if the toilet can get already in this position, and then you can pull up. So that one works really great, and then on the way to the tub, you will hold on to this side and reassurance you're in it all the way in there. Okay, Occupational, another big one. So this toilet actually is much higher than your average. So comfort height toilets are pretty much the standard now on clothes, which are usually 7 to 18. And this one was actually one for somebody who is 6'6" or 6'7". I think it's a 22 inch. Like I'm out on that thing, I'm like, who's that? I put it up there to show you that, the policemen who are pretty needs often higher toilets. Or the fact that there's something on the other side. What is it? Says no? Oh my God, you can't have a balance here. Because actually your knees are lower than your hips now. And you need to be able to pull your knees up higher than your hips in order to do that. So we get around that problem by using a squatty potty. So pull those knees up as high as you can. Okay? And that's how you're going to get everything just in the right line so it all comes out of it. Now, one of the other ways that to take some trauma for patients, the way that they do what's called bowel programs, a lot of times they don't have sensation in there, and so they use stimulation in order to get everything out. Okay, so some of my clients will use the days. And these days, the days are super cheap. You can buy the days on Amazon for $57, and you just unscrew the two bolts in the back, you stick it on, you connect it, and it's cold water. So if you use hot water, they're going to be in the 500 loads, and you have to have a plug back there, but most people don't mind. They can get used to it. It's not like a huge deal. This one is a really interesting one. They're the only one that I know of on the market which combines the elevated care and the day. Usually it's a kit, one or the other, because it's very easy to open it up. But this one can do both. Now, I think it's probably $250, but it also has the armrest. So if somebody is falling off the right, or they've also made that help to pick up. And all that one's a bit multifunctional. It's not trying to do too many things at once. Getting in and out of tub is a big deal as well. I have some who have respiratory syndrome, or they just cannot sleep at night. They use that time in order to get them back to bed. And of course, their lives are going in a hospital going on a box, and they don't want to wake up and do a tub at 2 a.m. So, at least using some other ways to keep things safer. And one of them is the superphone, which is one that I do a lot with rentals, people who don't want to put any holes in the wall. So tension-based rod that goes from the ceiling to the floor. You can install it if you want to. It's not have that option, but it's great for this temporary thing. And it's cool if you can put it anywhere. So some people will put it right next to their living room sofa so that they can use it to pull off on. And then you pull it out, it swivels, so you can move it and lock it to whatever position you want it. The two remote weight shifting ones are just basically showing that it's the same thing. It's weight shifting. You have to take your weight if you want to lift your foot into the tub. So whether that weight, like where you're putting the weight, is a pull down toilet bar, or to put down on the bar again if you are lifting rental, that's what you're using. And then the tub lift is the ideal thing for getting up and down. So now you are having somebody like literally sit on it, and then you push the motor out and it goes all the way up to standing or sitting, and then staying all the way down. And one of the tricks that I use also is if somebody is having falls and don't like to call the ambulance at 2 a.m. and they don't want to pay $3,000 for these crazy, fall lifters or whatever, somebody sent me a text about it and said, "Do you have to time this?" And I said, "I don't know. Do you think it's supposed to put your toes?" Right? What are you going to do with it? This is a $500 lift. I mean, so it's cool to have options. And then, of course, like walk-in tubs. People say, "Okay, I know this idea of a walk-in tub." Well, don't forget it. Walk-in tubs have like a 4-inch lift that you have to step over. They have a door that stays inward, which means you step into it and you have to lift up in your belly in order to go this way to start the door. Okay? And then when you sit down, the wire will be here so you're not reclining. So if relaxing and laying down is the purpose and why you want the tub, I don't know if that's going to help you. And then the other primary reason is that you have to empty the water before you get out. So most people will fold at that point. So it's just something to remember. And one of the things that you want to do is think about that now, because I have lots where they put it in and realize they hate it, and then they're like, "Okay, well, now what?" It's a $10,000 tub that I never use. Okay, falling out of bed. So vivid dreams, the REM disorders, I actually have this one at my father's house because he does have that problem. And one of the biggest areas where I get falls is when we have a bed at home between the nightstand and the bed. And I've had a couple where they've cracked the rhythm, currently, they are really coming out with lots of different kinds of forms to prevent absorption. So the problem is they make headers for these for glass or things like that. So it basically, if something hits it really hard, then it will sponge that. And so they started getting into these replacements, and we'll tell you they're expensive stuff. I mean, we probably put in a piece about half the size of a haircut that was $1,000. But it's a really good option when people have these beautiful pillows underneath that when they go to shower, they don't want to cover it or whatever, for whatever reason, sometimes it's the right option. Because it literally just feels on top. SpecificSolutions is another brand that's a little more institutional and cheaper. And they have lots of different kinds that are just on the bed as well. And you can look that up. There's one in Chiang as well that they don't feel good at it. But I do know that that is an area that people are really researching for ideas. Okay, low voice quality. So how do you get help? We talked about that earlier. It's really important. How stressful you make it if you're sitting there and you need to go to the bathroom. And what ends up happening is that people try to get out exhausted, understandably, and they try to get up and walk on their own, which then tends to another fall, which causes them to concern of walking down the road. So, can you use a $10 plug-in doorbell from Lowe's to solve that problem? So, what I love about this idea is that you have multiple transmitters, you can put them all over the house. So, if somebody is out in the garden or in the front that they're talking to the neighbors, you can pick up the man, a whole bunch of them talking to the neighbors, as soon as somebody pushes the button, it goes, okay? Easy food. Driveway alarm. So, I love this one. What I do is, these driveway alarms are sort of small winding interventions, and so that they know what cars are on it. And what I love is putting that alert piece of music underneath the bed. If somebody's getting out without asking for help, or they don't want to just come over or replace that, maybe they just have that habit already, for example, on their own, then that's a great solution. So that one, and that one I had another client where she's used in the living room, and she used to wave her hand like this to help me come up with the hair. That meant that she had something. Alright, so we'll see a quick video. So this is a concept of a brand or complement, and what it does specifically is that it allows decreased friction. So you can see how here it is a soften square, and so that's what the terrain of the hip and makes it easier to flip over and to get in and out of the bed. And right here it is like traditional, that I take a little bit here, and then so that you don't flip off of the bed. And then on the left side, it's all going to be how that is the seat film. So I'm going to flip this, I don't want to run out of too much time. This is something where people, when it's moving in and out of their tables, they have trouble, so you can use like an independent chair, which is custom made for you, and basically you can watch the food with it. And Comfort Type is one that you turn on the mechanism of your chair, and then it's like you can food. And then this is just one like sometimes people worry about memory stuff, like a lot of how that's going to be if I'm going to be in the stove So here's just an idea. Stove health is the medical reminder that we use Thunderbird instead of Wi-Fi, because sometimes people get tired of Wi-Fi. So I wanted to get to the three types of freezing. So freezing is huge problem, so I left it to last. This is basically you stop. You do your power exercises, and this is why it's really important. Find your power blanket and show you how to do that. Weight shifting is huge, right? So that's why you have the bars over there, so you remember left and right. You do reoccurrence wheels on one side and the other, so that you remember to weight shift when you're going through the door, so you're not afraid will come off the freezing. Strength is injuries on $12. You can increase the size of the door by 2 inches. So going to jail is usually a little hard to say. That's an excellent way of doing it instead of spending $1,500 on a contractor trying to put a bigger door in. It's great for wheelchairs all the time, especially if you get there. You can do visual feedback. So waving shoes have like this thing right on the end of the shoe. I know that clients do love using a fastball. It's fun for them to talk all the time. Because we find that once you get therapists use this model to help figure out solutions. We're looking at person, environment, and occupation. And the difference between how well you do it depends on your factors. So he didn't grow any extra muscles or go to therapy in between. What he did was, we changed how he did it. He did visual feedback. So he walked, right? He can't do it.
And that's one. It's great to see it, but we still think that if we think that, better to. I got about a little bit online, and it just went to me. It hurt. So I started trying, and I put it like this. It's fun. And I was saying, that was like this. I like the fact that it's a builder of the sense. It's easy to grab, fun to grab. But I just want to close with these three points, okay? So, number one, I want you to make sure that you're getting your information to take, if you avoid it and you wait till the last minute, you'll be shocked to find out that back pains are often $100,000 to rehab, and the cost of care of this can really add up. I think almost $20,000 a month, okay, depending on what kind of care. So, know how much it is, like mental health. Know how much those home occupations are going to cost you. Know how much caregivers cost in your neighborhood. There's generous.com, it's the link to Center. If you can look at how much caregivers cost in your neighborhood, how much skilled nursing is, or any of these things, it's just information. And then, if people are doing open houses in your neighborhood, go check it out. Go see. Do you have a better situation? Maybe you could buy their house instead. Like they can buy. And you might see some cool ideas like that. And then go visit communities. You may get there and say, oh my gosh, this is awesome. This is exactly what I wanted, but I was too afraid to go and look at it. Okay. Number two, I want you to find your why. Figure it out. What is the motivation that's going to push you to do the exercises you need to do and the work and choices that you need to make? Somebody is going to hold your hand to say, it's okay. That's going to be the right choice for you. Okay? Get out. Look at your friends. Look at your family. Is it your volunteering that is a non-negotiable? Ask yourself, what is it that's important to you? I'm just sorry. I just want to freak myself before. The number one thing that people say they're scared about is, oh my God, what if I look at this thing? And I'm going to show you a video to want to tell you that my family Parkinson, they're not sitting around the home. Okay?
New Zealand totals about $30,000, but I have had some foundations cover it, a lot of military ones. So I just wanted to leave you guys with some free exercises on YouTube, like an intelligence, I think called power exercises. We started doing those in a certain YouTube group in Jacksonville, and we recorded them. It was like 16 episodes, like from the beginning right to the end. So these guys are getting up and down off the floor for themselves. I mean, I'm on Zoom, right? I'm not going in there, I'm not reaching into the TV and taking these to the back. But after all of them, they all felt they could breathe better, they could, they felt confident. They weren't scared to go out to the grocery store and fall flat on their face because they knew they could get up again. Okay, so it's a really important thing to have the confidence to know that you're going to be fine no matter what it is. And I just let you guys, the three startups that we talked about, the conflict women, to get extra and do with it. And, these guys are great, and I really want to support them and see what they can do, going forward. And there's my contact information. Thank you so much for your time, and I hope you guys have a fun rest of the conference. How did you get out over there? All right. Well, hopefully you have a lot of ideas. If you got one or two, you feel like, this is something I should consider, then definitely check into that. We first want to go to the bathroom. You might be wondering, where is the bathroom, by the way? Bathrooms are in that corner. Men's there, women's all the way into the corner. And we're going to take about 10 minutes here. And I will tell you something about each of the people who see the exhibit tables are partners. These people are not here just to show you stuff. I have witnessed every single one of these people there are helpers. They care about Parkinson's people. And so, have conversation. They all have something unique to offer. We'll get back together in about 10 minutes and we'll go through a series of several fun things. Okay. How many of you have done speech therapy for Parkinson's? Alright, so there's a couple different brands out there, but did you know that Speak Out out of Richardson, Texas, first expanded to Oklahoma City, and then to Tulsa, and now they're kind of everywhere. But actually, for the city was the first place. We got a group, I was on the board that day, and we went down to Richardson because we heard about this. And we looked around and said, you know what, we feel like more people are doing better than more people. We need to do this in Oklahoma City. And so he said, do you think we would expand? And they said, actually, that's kind of what we're wanting to do. And so we tested it, and now they've done it everywhere. Well, since then, we've helped fund and promote 20-something lounge programs around Oklahoma, and all of these things. And so Tracy Pearl is going to come up and join me. Come on up, Tracy. And Tracy is a speech language pathologist with 30 years of experience. She is the owner of Neurosurgeon in Central Edmond. She does adult speech therapy. And she also serves as an adjunct clinical supervisor at UCO. She specializes in therapy for neurologically impaired adults. She is Speak Out certified. She currently conducts 2 live crowds that we help support in the Edmond area. So some of you know this person, and she's going to take you through a little bit of the idea and some of the demonstration of how this works. Let's welcome her. Okay. Now we need. Okay. Alright, so I think I'm Tracy Pearl with SpecificSolutions, and a lot of therapists at SpecificSolutions are Speak Out certified. So we know that muscles become weak because they're not used to the capacity of Parkinson's. The muscles in your throat are no different than the muscles elsewhere in your body. They can become weak and start causing speech or swallowing problems. So, in fact, 90% of individuals with TB are likely to develop a speech or swallowing problem. And some cause possibly to aspiration pneumonia, which is reported to be up to 70% of the mortality rate. Early signs disorder include reduced vocal volume, hoarse sounding voice, frequent throat clearing, that kind of thing, dwelling out at the end of sentences, or inconsistent production of the voice. Early signs of a swallowing disorder include drooling, coughing during or after eating or drinking. It can be liquid, it can be solids, anything. The sensation of food or pills to be stuck in your throat, either basically you're not cleaning your throat while you're eating or drinking, and even unexplained weight loss. So, humans have two motor systems. There's an extracranial system, which controls automatic movement, and you'll see all of them green homes. So when we do an automatic movement like talking, walking, blinking, it goes all the sideways, and it's heavily dependent on thinking. Whereas the intentional system, which is your cranial system, has just the solid movement, so you can let your shoulder back, and it's less dependent on dopamine. Let's talk about some things that are intentional. For example, if you're at your first job interview, and you're really thinking about what you're going to say because you want to make an impression, or you're driving down the freeway and all of a sudden it starts raining and spilling, and you concentrate on how you're driving, or exercising, boxing, tennis, that kind of thing. You're thinking about those movements. Those are all intentional acts. You, in this presentation, I have to think about what I'm actually saying, right? But your typical production of speech is highly automatic. When you tell your friend you're going to start talking, you're talking to your family members and just start talking. It's completely automatic. You don't think about it. So, when you have a speech disorder or swallowing disorder with speech therapy help, yes, this is the right therapy program. The Parkinson's Voice Project program teaches individuals with Parkinson's how to convert speech from an automatic act into an intentional act. So speaking with intent uses a system that is less dependent on dopamine. So we're bypassing that need for dopamine to that automatic function, teaching you to speak with intent. I'm going to show you a video featuring pre and post treatment. Go speak out. So mostly there's a big difference between pre and post treatment. The secret of treatment is first having an evaluation course by a certified speak-out provider. You attend individual sessions and usually ranges from 8 to 12, just depending on where you're at. And not only do you have to regain function in those individual sessions, but then you move on to a weekly extensive visit, often called outbound, and to help you maintain those skills that you have regained.
So the key to that group is voice facilitator, advice, pathologists, that's for a man to speak out. You review the exercises every week, so you're getting them in practice, great peer support, encouragement, and provides accountability, motivation, and comfort your speak out exercises, and it's always free of charge at our clinic and our speech stations. So we do bill insurance for individual sessions, but then after that, the maintenance center is free for life. And it's also they have discounts elsewhere too, like the allowance, where they are also free of charge. So, as a practice for these exercises, so I'm going to go through the program. Please participate. I'm going to have my therapist, Chris, stand on this side to help with it too. So the first one, we're just going to say, money, that you're going to have lots of energy, really drag out those vowel sounds, and make your voice consistent and project. Just like your figures and group of people. All right, are you ready? Here we go. Perfect. Let's try it again. Alright. Another one that we do to help you with consistency in your voice is to sing the sound. And sing for 10 seconds. So you want your voice to stay consistent throughout. So we're going to try that together too. Okay. And it also helps you naturally develop the breath support and coordinate with your breath support in the stage. Alright, we're going to do one more of those. And now, it's time for the vibes, everybody's favorite. So what we do is we kind of start here, we go all the way up the scale, and you're carving all the way to the neck. So we're starting from speech coaching to get a little monotone. So we want to go up that whole scale, come back down as good for addressing that monotone voice. But it's often working your larynx through your voice box as you make your way to its full capacity. So we're going to start here and go all the way up. You continue to project throughout the whole time. You're tuning your tone and pitch. You're not changing your volume. So here we go. That's fun, though. Alright. Let's do that one. So it kind of gives you an idea. It's kind of the things we do. We also address reading for consistency in voice to protection and building the breath support and the cognitive exercises as well. So some key points are, although you absolutely can gain function for lost ability, and we absolutely encourage you to seek treatment, even if you feel like your voice or tone is not really bad, you can improve, absolutely. It is easier, though, if you start before when it's stronger. So in other words, you start now, before you notice those difficulties. If you think, oh, my voice is fine, my song is fine, I don't have any issues, start now. Because again, it's 90% of people will develop a speech or swallowing disorder. The speech and swallowing muscles in your throat are different from those muscles in the rest of your body, and you need to stay strong and maintain them. So, if you have any questions, my table is right over there. You can come see me. I can take minutes from now if somebody has a question. If not, please come visit me. Yep. Okay. We're going to skip the question. No question if you have a question. Alright, Tracy has been great to partner with. You would imagine you might want to talk to her. You know somewhere else around the state, we have something like 26 or 27 loud crowds now, and so it's probably one close to you. Alright, so, we're going to get an award. How about that? How many of y'all I think the old timers here, we may be on new Jim King. So in 2004, Jim King noticed that there was really no Parkinson's organization in Oklahoma, and he started the Parkinson Foundation of Oklahoma. Jim was a personal mentor to me, was on the board for him, a volunteer, part-time, and his pioneering work in Oklahoma ushered in a new era of resource and solutions for Parkinson's families in our state. So, I told Jim as I was coming in, as he was going out, I wanted to give the Jim King Award every year. And he said, well, but I'm not dead yet. I said, well, that's okay. We just have to be uncomfortable because that's what we're going to do. And I talked to Jim about every month. He was enjoying being retired. So we gave the Jim King Award each year to someone who has made a big splash around the state for Parkinson's families in Oklahoma. And today we recognize Jeff Dillon. Jeff does everything. He was engaged in Parkinson-specific boxing, round crowds, support groups, education, all of it. And he is an encourager to other Parkinson patients. Jeff and his wife, Everly, also generously support his efforts. In fact, Jeff has been our top fundraiser in Southwest Oklahoma for 3 or 4 years now. And Jeff, so he was so good at that, he's now on the board. And Jeff served as a lieutenant colonel in the United States Army, and as the owner of Alpha Leadership Solutions, he currently does leadership training all over the world for the Defense Department. Jeff is an all-star, any way you want to look at it. Let's hear it for Jeff. As most of you know, Mr. Vernon Miner's significant philanthropic generosity in our city has made tangible businesses everywhere, all over the city. And he's also served as a catalyst for other generous donors to support Parkinson's services in Oklahoma by helping with many other matching campaigns over the past 8 years. And so the Oklahoma Parkinson Alliance last year decided we should start giving $100 more each year to acknowledge the work of some individuals who really serve as a catalyst for further and financial leadership for the Parkinson community. And this year, we have designated Jerry Thomason as being instrumental in providing financial leadership while also serving as a steady source of encouragement with power exercise, with the admin support group, and education events, and with other crucial services. Jerry served as the operating partner of Maximum Supply for many years, and has also been instrumental in the help of numerous nonprofits in Oklahoma City. So for his financial and servant leadership in the Oklahoma Parkinson's community, we give the 2023 Herman Rogers Award to Jerry Thomason. Stay there, Jerry. Not much to work with. I was speaking to myself. When Bruce told me that this is going to happen, I said, well, I need to do this is nothing. Nothing? Yeah, nothing. I can do that. But to be recognized with this minded man for the great island was a surprise to me. Thank you very much. He was an amazing guy. The Minders Center for Movement Disorders is here because of Mr. Minders. And that's become an exciting time. Thank you. enjoyed getting them out of dress and good. And, honestly, we're awarding 2 people here, but these are multiplied. I look around the room and I just see everyone right here to get an award. But these 2 guys really stood out in the past year. All right, you guys ready to move a little bit? Even sitting down. The first time you ever heard about boxing for Parkinson's, most people thought, wait a minute, I'm not a big fan of getting hit in the face. Well, you don't hit anybody in the face, you don't get hit in the face. And boxing quite a few places around the state. But Stephanie Thompson is the owner of Roundhouse Boxing and Fitness in Edmond, and she is awesome. Some of y'all work out with her, motivational, skilled, and she believes in Parkinson's patients and families. Come on out, some of that money. Thank you so much, Bruce. Like I said, my name is Stephanie Thompson. I'm the owner of Roundhouse Boxing and Fitness in Edmond. I've got 2 of my volunteers here tonight. They're going to give you guys an example of what it might look like if you come to a boxing class with me. First thing I want to show you, though, is this is what I'm children at. And I lay that on the ground and so this looks like a ladder. Flexible. If you step on it, it's not going to look so rigid. I'm going to put this on the floor and I'm going to provide you guys a little demonstration, okay? Now, if you come to my classes and you'd like to come up here and participate with us, you're welcome to. Now, if you want to stand, you may. If you don't understand and you want to try something exercises in a seated position, I'm going to demonstrate how we would warm up in a seated position. Now, my volunteer shows you what the warm-up is going to look like while standing. So the first thing we're going to talk about is getting our posture nice and tall. So shoulders back, chest out, eyes out, so not quite here, but just looking straight ahead. My feet are right on the ground, and what we're thinking about doing is we're going to march in place. So we're going to march in place, and we're going to twist from the arms with it. Now, I always tell my participants that your arm swing may not look like mine. Don't take any arm swing that you have, okay? Any arm swing is better than no swing, right? Now I'm going to try to march your feet wide. Good, we're just breathing comfortably. Very nicely and back in. Very good. Now we're going to let those feet go. Take our hand, I'm going to look over my shoulder. Back to third. Other side. We're looking over that shoulder, keeping your eyes straight forward ahead. I'm going to do our day one exercise. I'm going to put my hands right here. I'm going to bring my knees up to my hands. Switch. So you see, we're going to bit for your hips sitting. Standing, you're going to return a little more balance. Breathe in. Now, for the emergency on that, go ahead and pause there. So I'm going to do exaggerated arm swing. I'm going to use both my arms for this one. So you want to get your front swing just as big as your back swing, like this. Excellent job, very good. All right, well, you guys are all warmed up now. Some of the questions I do go in my Parkinson's class, my doctor's the classes, will I get hit? Yes. May you hit somebody? Possibly. Not one of the other participants is like, yeah, you can hit me, or if we said warm, we've got bags, heavy bags, we've got speed bags. You guys have seen a speed bag in like the walking movies. We've got what's called a double-end ball. A double-end bag is a round ball. There's tethered from top to bottom for standing to floor. And it's like a reflex pad. What we like about it is that as I go to hit, it's going to move a lot. So we're working on our hand-eye coordination. But most importantly, what I like about it is that if I hit it and I lean forward, it's not going to pull me out. So I'm forced to make sure I've got a really big boxing stance, so nice and stable. And I'm using my core. We're going to look at our core training. Why we think boxing is one of the best exercises for Parkinson's is some of the rigidity that you may get in your torso area. All boxing is lots of twisting, moving, where we're doing weight shifting. So we get to kind of use all of those boxing techniques to help boxing symptoms.
the warm-up exercises that we do, and you guys don't have to come to here and don't worry, is we're going to do yoga ladder. And give an example of how I show the exercise, and the participants are going to follow me, okay? So on the shoulder, we're going to stay down here at this end of the ladder. I'm going to say 1 foot in each square, right foot goes first. Make sure your chest is up, arms are up, keeping your 2 feet, and swinging your arms. What I'm trying to get people to not do is look down the chest where they're going, so like to get nice and tall, and on the way back, we're going to go foot first, 1 foot in each square. So you see how you kind of pick up his feet, so there's no shuffling, you don't hear you shuffling. Another exercise that we like to do all over is really just low, high knees. So moving sideways is sometimes to be a challenge. And you may have one side better than the other. And what we're going to do is we're going to keep that chest up nice and tall. As long as I'm picking up my feet, there's nothing to fear. It's okay if you step on this ladder too. So both of my knees are coming high, and then swinging my arms. Notice how I'm going to keep my posture nice and tall. Very good. And then on the way back, I'm going to face the same way, so now my right leg should be moving tall. Some of the feedback I've gotten from a lot of my participants is that I don't want to fall through switches in the class. That's amazing. A lot of times people say, you know, sometimes I wake up and I don't feel like coming. But whenever I come there and I'm done, I don't regret it. Another thing that I really like to hear is whenever my participants go to their 6-month checkup with their neurologist, they do not have a medication tool. So not an increase. Sometimes it is a decrease. Sometimes it just stays right there. So that's a win. That's a win. After we do our warm-ups, we do some calf raises, we do some wall push-ups. That's where we face the wall. We just push up on the wall. That way we don't get down the ground and put back up. However, if that's what you want to do in calf, you certainly can. Then we're going to touch some stuff. And then we're going to start with some stations. You're going to be on the speed bag. You're going to be on the double bag. You're on the heavy bag. So looking, you get to start with Chris. And Chris is going to do this with you. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make sure our boxer is in our boxing stance. It's a big wide stance for lots of balance. Big wide base, right? Engineers in here. Big wide base. He's going to throw a jab cross first. So we're also going to do a little bit of footwork with that, okay? So Chris is now going to instruct Mike to move backwards. He's going to throw 2 punches, jab cross. Chris comes towards down, Mike steps back, still in the stance. And we teach you guys this. Now you can have him move forward. It goes on jab cross. Now Chris moves back, now Mike moves forward. What about some of that side movement? So we're moving laterally. So with our jab cross, Chris is going to move either right or left. Mike has to use his footwork to get right in front of him. When we're on the heavy bag, when we're on the double bag, sometimes I call out combinations. So we're doing a little bit of that cognitive, always remember what Stephanie said. When you throw certain punches, you get some people. We're more interested in what you're doing in Montana, that's for sure. When you're throwing those punches, when your hand lands, okay? Being like a dictator to help you guys manage your symptoms, a lot of times trying those tones up to be a challenge, that happens to also be how you throw uppercut. Now, one of my favorite stories to tell people, and this is actually not about one of the other affiliates of Tesla. You know, you think like, okay, this guy here is going to Parkinson, but the school has Parkinson, you know, they're doing boxing, they're treating symptoms. I'll be honest, I just never know. Someone at someone follows them home one day. And because he's been training boxing, when that road rage guy, you know, stepped out of the car, the guy just had an instinct, he had a reflex he couldn't control, jumped him right in the face, didn't have any thumbs after that, so I'm not saying that you have to do that. However, that guy was the last thing he knew how to throw it so much. You know, I'm trying to go straight out down, so, you know, use it for your Parkinson, use it for self-defense, all of it works. We are located in Edmond. I do also a free introductory 30-minute session to meet you with you, kind of learn about, like, when you are in Parkinson, maybe kind of talk about, like, what it is specifically you feel like you need help with. those right before a boxing class. That way, depending on how much time you have that day, you can sit down and you can watch. You know what a class looks like. Sometimes these participants come to me, they're not quite ready for a big exercise class, and that's okay. We'll do it through one-on-one sessions, just to kind of make sure that you're ready for a full class of other people, because as you can imagine, with these other people, you're not always going to be able to stand right beside you to make sure that you're okay. I do always have volunteers in my class, so there's at least 3 or 4 people in the room that are helping me keep eyes on everybody. And my favorite thing that I get to provide for everybody is just a support of knowing that you have a place to go where you're welcome, you're not isolated, you're going to leave in a good mood. So when my participants come in and they say, I'm just really having a really bad Parkinson's today. And for a lot of you guys know what that feels like. I just say, that's okay, we're going to get things together. So it doesn't matter if you're doing great that day, or if you're brand new or not brand new. No matter what, we're going to go through it together, and we're going to have a good time. I recently, within the past year, I think, started working side by side with Tracy. You guys just met Tracy. She is the Neurosurgeon. She does the lab job. We do a hot subclass at my gym right before boxing. So if you are somebody who uses both of those therapies, now you can put them in one place. We also reschedule our class once a month to go to the Edmond Support Group meeting. So we really try to build a community that is supportive of people who have Parkinson's disease. Yes, boxing is a best exercise. Ultimately, at the end of the day, I don't care what you guys do, I want you guys to exercise. Okay? If it's with me, that's wonderful. If it's not with me, that's okay. Just don't resign to the house. I can tell you through experience and knowledge that the people who are moving, even if it's not my class, they're getting a benefit out of it. So please be exercising. And I think we have, I can take it 1 or 2 questions real quick if anybody has one. And if you guys want to ask me more questions, I'll be over at the booth with Tracy. Thank you guys so much. Thank you very much.
Okay, great job. Great job. All right. So if you need to do it, it's okay. We've got really good power exercise, for Parkinson's, boxing, all of those things. Come to our table, we can help you find something that's happening close to you. But Tracy, I've been so impressed. The thing you find is most of these, anywhere you go, across Oklahoma, any of these therapies, people aren't doing what they want to do because they feel sorry for these poor Parkinson's. That's not it. People are doing this because we are here to champion the Parkinson's patients. We are here to help you do what you can do and want to do. That's what it's all about. So, if you ever have someone that you met, those of you who've been owners or managers over the years, and you thought, if I ever had a chance, I'd love to hire that person. Well, that's what I thought years ago when I met Wendy Mobley. I thought, if I ever have a chance to hire her, I will. And the chance came. And so I did. And so she works part-time with us as a director of support. If you need a free family consultation, if you just need to sit there and talk A to G with someone, and come up with your next right move, Wendy is fantastic. She also helps coordinate our support groups, primarily in central Oklahoma, and she is such a great resource in the Parkinson's community. She's got some real observations to share with you that I think are going to move you from a little bit of a problem to a solution. Come on up, Wendy. Well, I think we love this is what I call it every year. It's like a big family reunion too, because I get to see people from all over, and people here from Weatherford, and Shawnee, and Northern, and Moore, and just all over Fairview. So it's really exciting to have so many facilities in Oklahoma City and everywhere. Well, I'm here to talk to you. You've already heard from Tracy, and talking about fighting the symptoms of Parkinson's disease with speech therapy. And Stephanie talking about fighting the Parkinson's disease through boxing and exercise. But I'm going to talk to you on a different issue. I'm going to talk to you about the importance of fighting loneliness and social isolation in Parkinson's.
broke in. And, of course, this was a thing before the pandemic ended, but we're starting to see it more so now that people are kind of coming back out of the pandemic instead of being home. So, I'm going to tell you something. I've got bad news and I've got good news for you. What do you want to hear first? I think the bad news first. I like to give the bad news first because I got some good news for you later. And I always like to leave on a good note. But I also want you to know that it's not always easy to hear the bad news. So the bad news is that every 6 minutes, someone is diagnosed with Parkinson's disease in the United States. But never gets changed. It was 9 minutes. Now it's 6 minutes. In fact, just this year, when the data came in. And we used to say 60,000 people in the United States are diagnosed with Parkinson's, and now that number has gone up to 90,000. So you can see that there's obviously something going on in our nation. And so if the trajectory continues the way it is, by 2030, 1.2 million people in the United States will have Parkinson's disease. So, because of these increasing numbers, it's gotten the attention of researchers, on healthcare professionals, even the National Institute of Health, even here. This is outside of our country, even everyone internationally is looking at these two issues. But because of this, we've seen more research going into Parkinson's and social isolation and loneliness. So, right now, the research that loneliness it only affects people. It has a cognitive effect, dementia, Alzheimer's disease. There's a correlation of risk of these, as well as some of the physical components illnesses like hypertension and obesity, and that's just to name a few. There's others, cardiovascular disease and other information. So, what are they saying? We know that most of you are having this question all the time. Common Parkinson's disease, is it genetic? We know there's a risk genetically for irritations and things like that, for injuries. We know that there's a risk from environmental toxins. There's a correlation between equines and other herbicides and things like that with Parkinson's. We know from blood tumors that they can be a risk of Parkinson's disease. Well, now there's a new study that just came out last month in JAMA Neurology. It reports that over a study of almost 500,000 people in the UK, it was done by the Florida State University, but it was done on people that actually reside in the United Kingdom. And what they did was they took some records of people from 38 years old to 73, and they collected this data and analyzed it over a 15-year period. They didn't take the 50 years from the study, they're going back through the records in the database. And the results showed that loneliness is significantly associated with Parkinson's disease. In fact, 37% of eventual diagnosis of those individuals. So this is really eye-opening for so many people that work in this field, and we're going to see more as we go along. Loneliness and isolation is not just like I was saying, it's not just a Parkinson's thing. When Surgeon General put out advisory about it, how it's becoming a social crisis in our nation. And we know that it's associated with development of mental health changes and challenges over time, and then also premature death. And this is what was alarming to me, so many of our researchers to test it. And it's comparable to a person, loneliness, and premature death is compared to a person who smokes 15 cigarettes a day. So it's pretty eye-opening if you start to delve into this. Okay. U.S. scientists also discovered that a decrease in social interaction that occurred during the pandemic. They've done studies since the pandemic, and they found that people with Parkinson's had an increase in their motor symptoms as well as their non-motor symptoms. But this increase occurred even more with the non-motor symptoms. The reason why this gets our attention, and some of you, if you come back to Parkinson's stuff, you know that some of the non-motor symptoms of Parkinson's are also things that led to by isolation and loneliness. And so that would be anxiety, depression, and those are also non-motor symptoms of Parkinson's disease. So that's why this is given specification. Healthcare practitioners report that people with PD are more susceptible to loneliness due to the diagnosis. The one I mentioned earlier, when you get this diagnosis, what are you going to do with it? At first, some people are like, no, I don't know if I want to go to that group, so I'm not ready to see everybody, but I saw this, and kind of go through this time of deciding what to do, and that changes over time, but maybe you're not really out to do the person that you normally would. Then the other thing is just some of the physical challenges that people develop over time, like tremor, or maybe some dyskinesia, where you can't control the movement in some social settings. It's difficult. Not to mention the non-motor symptoms of apathy and fatigue that you just really don't feel like doing nothing going on. And so this is causing people to stay home more and maybe not get engaged with others. And as Carol mentioned earlier, that's not the thing to do. You've got to keep going, you've got to be going. And so the good news is there's something we can do about this. It's not something we have to just sit and think. We can take action. And so the good news is we can socialize. Socializing stimulates the brain. It promotes neuroplasticity. A lot of you heard that too. We want that. We want that promotion. I'm telling you guys a brain workout today. We've already had speech therapy. Bruce had to do all the up and down stuff. We've had boxing. I'm seeing the information, Carol's partnering information, and then Dr. Collins is going to put all the slides. You know, they want to check it out. Okay, so let's talk about this. What are some of the benefits of socializing? Dr. Angela Taylor, she's a neuropsychologist. She has done some studies on loneliness and socialization and what are the benefits of it. The benefits are not live longer. Did you know that? People actually that engage in social support tend to live longer than people that don't. And that's also true even with health conditions. Even if people have a significant health condition, they tend to live longer than people that don't socialize. Really fascinating. You're more likely to enjoy better physical health. So social engagement increases our immune system. It benefits it, makes it stronger. So people are less likely to get colds and flu, and also getting slow from cancer. Okay, so you can also enjoy better mental health, interacting with others, boosts feelings of well-being and decreases feelings of depression. So we want to fight against those, especially because the dopamine affects our mood neurotransmitters. And so we do have to fight against anything we can. So we need to socialize. And it also decreases the risk of dementia. What we all bear, this was amazing. Any study that comes out, well, I'm getting it off, I'm always reading it. People ask me about it all the time, but also for myself. So we want to do anything we can to reduce the risk of dementia. People that connect with others, they usually perform better on mental status tests and also intelligence skills tests. So people that are connected and interact with others usually perform better on the skills test. So, what are some ways we can boost our social engagement? Okay, attend an educational conference. You guys, give yourself a hand. I'm so proud of you guys. Look at me. So you only get to give a check mark by your name because you're attending a special conference. So your brain is doing all kinds of great stuff right now. Attend exercise classes. So go see Stephanie, the boxing, and Evan. And go to the Healthy Living Center and do further activities on Thursdays. Thursday goes to local YMCA. And get a group of people together and watch Parkinson. Online, just anything you can do. Lab class, you can go see a lot. We have lab class with Emily, with Tracy, and Tiffany at our office. If we're in the Parkinson's Alliance office, and if you live in our town, a lot of people here from our town. You live in our town, you can also zoom into those. meeting. So just know it's not just that social connection of being in person, but it is something that can be powerful and good because you're interacting with other people. And so that's for a class, and one guy's telling me about how they're doing something with you and my art. I said, great, that's so exciting. Maybe doing some artwork, something that they just talking, anything you can do to connect. And I hear this all the time, that I'm not one of those people that like to be in big crowds. That's okay. Have coffee with a friend. Have a mini group that you don't want to meet with. Just make sure that your husband knows that you're finishing. But get your people. Get your people. If you're not a big crowd person, that's okay. Visit a museum. What fun is that? Visit a museum and share what you learn. Just something different. That's where you build that real clear miracle system of doing different things. Not doing things always the same way. Sing in a choir or play in a ministry. We have a guy here that travels and sings in a choir and he's awesome and plays piano. We have a choir who lives here in the city that meets 2 Wednesdays a month at the little Parkinson down. So we'd love to have you. There is no prerequisite for singing. You can just come to your room and enjoy it. We have several people here that come to choir. Volunteer to work at hospital, a school, a nonprofit. We have some wonderful volunteers. You guys give our volunteers a hand. Yes. Ranger Dog, Randy is out there controlling the traffic. We have some awesome volunteers. And we can volunteer. We have several people here that volunteer at one of our local hospitals. We have a couple that volunteer at the food bank in Chiang. There's some great opportunities out there to do some fun things. Also, I skipped over it, the attendant support group. I'm kind of talking with the crowd here because I know about 70% of you guys privilege support group every year. Some of you every month. We have some loyalists out here. And you guys are awesome. But join the support group. It doesn't even have to be a Parkinson's one. Maybe if you're a care partner, it's a caregiver group. Maybe it's another group of people with like interests that you want to be a part of. So delve into that. Find some things to get involved in. If it is something that you feel like, hey, I need some creative ideas for in the home, before I bring in the home, how can I bring people in? You really need to come and meet with people that you don't never have time. You know, your significant other already knows your favorite food and your favorite color, so you need to visit with some people that don't know the answers to all your questions. Because even if you're not talking and you're sitting there, when you hear that those questions I was asking you earlier, your brain fire, and we want that. So come by our table, we'll brainstorm with you. You can call me up like Bruce said, and we'll make an appointment to talk on the phone or Zoom or come into the office. Or if I go club around the state, if I'm going to be in your area and you're going to be before or after a meeting, let me know ahead of time, and we can work that out. Okay, well, I'm going to give you a much-needed break before we have our final speaker. So go around and visit me at the table here that have a cat to talk to. A little bit before Dr. Collins was up here, talking about our year-end campaign that we have going on. I'm Matthew Whitney, for the Parkinson's Alliance, while I'm up in Tulsa. So we're right there next to Dr. Smoss's office if you're ever in town. We'd love to see you say hello. Our year-end campaign is about to get launched, and our ability to provide this program and others across the state really depends on your generosity and its generosity with Oklahomans. So this year, several thousands of people have attended things like support groups, speech therapy groups, exercise, and educational events. We track all those numbers, and it's really neat to see the growth in certain areas. For example, Groves, Oklahoma, has grown wild. Bruce had an event not too long ago up in western Oklahoma, 47 people out of nowhere. And so these things are going to happen in service communities because of you all. So
So your things for close. There's two giving options for you to consider. The first one is a cooperative campaign with a goal of $100,000. So you can give throughout the end of the year on our website. You can fill out one of the information below the free side. Another great option is qualified charitable distributions from your IRA. So you may know about those. Also, your financial planners. But if you're a certain age, you can give those tax-free. Additionally, we have established endowments of both Oklahoma City and Tulsa, with both community foundations of opportunities to leave a lasting legacy. And we actually work as a group to help you design that and plan that for cost to you guys. So if you're interested in that, you can see more info at the table or talk to me or Bruce. We're going to chat a little bit about that moving forward. All right, so I will introduce our final speaker, Dr. Andrew Palmer. He is a board-certified neurosurgeon at OU Health, who specializes in surgical treatment of movement disorders. He originates from Seminole, Oklahoma. His undergraduate studies at Oklahoma State University, medical school at Indiana University, and his neurosurgery residency at the University of Oklahoma. OU is just here, don't worry. What's great is he also did a functional neurosurgery fellowship at the University of California, San Francisco, Oklahoma was very lucky to have them. They've been practicing since 2019. So that's some wonderful information for you guys, surgical officers, and public spaces. So Dr. Palmer, thank you very much. Thank you for the introduction. It's really good fun. Up here is just a clinic. It'll be on the last slide too. This one's further, so first thing to be clear, I'm not paid by any of these companies to do these type of talks. My interview is fair as I can and unbiased as far as the different types of DBS cover that exist. We'll talk a little bit about focus ultrasound too. The company that makes our system is called Insight Tech. I don't talk about nuclear anything. So put that out there. So it's going to go over about an hour. This is a little bit longer talk than I normally do. So we may go through some of it to hit our time. So stick it on here. So we'll start with deep brain stimulation. That's obviously the most common surgical procedure we do for patients with Parkinson's disease. We're even some of us go for the country. So this became FDA approved in the early 2000s. First is FDA approved for late stage Parkinson's disease. So you had to have the disease for at least 10 plus years. It was also thought it was good. And later on, the FDA revised their approval officially to include patients with earlier onset, or not early onset, but patients who were earlier in the disease process to have indications for DBS. So anyway, people have been dealing with these implants earlier on in the disease before the FDA approved them. Especially if it's later on just like I earlier, a lot of advances have been made that have made a good procedure even better. We'll talk about some of the new things that are out there. And then also just another thing to know is you can't use DBS for both sides of the body. People have to use both sides of the body or both sides of the brain to treat you with this one side. But in reality, if you only have something on one side, you really want to do DBS on one side. So it can be both sides or one side. So what does it do? I think this is probably the most important thing. Basically the first thing I'm talking about is what is the kind of expectations. So really at the end of the day, the DBS really gets the good rhythm by reducing non-optimal fluctuations. That's what it's best at. And what I mean is just movement-related fluctuations. I know that during the day you can have one-off fluctuations, but they're not just related to movement, they're not related to other things that actually fluctuate as well. But these all help with the movement-related problems. It's good helping reduce medication-resistant symptoms like syndrome, stiffness, slowness, dyskinesia, dystonia. That's really the next thing that's going to happen. And then probably reduce loading, reducing one of those situations. And also in a lot of cases, it can help reduce your medications. Now, the reason it does that is not because it causes your brain to make more dopamine, which you're taking with a mouth, which is kind of better than body. It actually is kind of more or less, it's kind of playing an electric trick on the brain to help those symptoms medication. Just mental physical therapy is what you're on taking. But in most cases, you can usually reduce the patient's symptoms and effective treatment. So this is just a big graphic. I kind of looked at this to look like. It's really three components. This graphic is just showing one side of implant, but again, you can have it based on both sides of the brain to help both sides of your body. That's the most common. It's a three-part system, meaning that part one is just into the electrode, that's the wire, that goes into the brain, it's a small hole in the skull, and that's kind of one of the capacitor. And then it connects to a rope wire, like a sensor wire, that goes from kind of behind the ear down in that to the generator, or the speaker itself in the cells. So there are different targets that we choose between APIs. Sometimes I ask this question, so I can bring it up. Both of these targets, the name of them is up there at the top right, it's kind of small with the front shoulder. One of them is called the SPN, or the subpyramidal nucleus. The other is called the GPI, or the global cortical internal. They're equally good. It's not that one is better than the other one for treating symptoms. It just has different pros and cons with each target. So we choose target based on the neuropsychological component. It's part of the workout to undergo the basic necessary phase. You have to get neuropsychological testing. And that helps us determine which target might be better. There's some trade-offs in that. The SPN target is very good at reducing medications. As compared to the GPI target, it's actually a little better at reducing medications in total. Although a lot of patients who have GPI as their target also reduce the medications significantly. And the SPN is a little bit better at that. The downside is that if you have underlying cognitive or psychiatric issues, the SPN target is the best option. So the neuropsychological test can kind of tell us that it's not an issue. GPI is typically better for those applications. So it's basically just two different targets for the checkpoints in the same highway, so to speak. And we choose that target based on neuropsychological testing. In the past, a long time ago, targets were based on intuition from a neurologist. This really narrows more scientific. So this is just a graphic showing the targets keeping the brain and the pictures of the knowledge of the active brain in the next slide. SPN target looks like everything on the right. These two little eyes, looks like kind of eyes and eyebrows. And so the eyebrows right for the SPN target is a really small target in space. And the left has to choose the right target. These are just deep and kind of core of the brain. So about, maybe 4 or 5 inches or so deep into the brain is what the power of the system. Here's the kind of bulb on the left, that picture sort of beam is showing GPI target. So this again is just kind of deep and kind of the core area of the brain, sort of like the wheel system of the brain, where the wires go. And on the right side, you can see the SPN target, you can see the eyes and eyebrows. That's this red stuff. So it's a small little smudge that we're trying to put these small little wires into, so you have to really precise. So how do we do that? Basically, there are two ways. The sort of standard traditional way EBS was implanted for a very long time, and still is done in some centers, is a wave. So basically, from that offer medicine, they have the electrode implantation in the wave, so you can listen to the brain and determine if the electrode was there in the spot that we wanted to go into. This is before we had better user techniques and some other technology that help us guide the electrode into the correct target. So we don't need to do a wave surgery anymore. In some cases, it's preferred. For instance, if you can't have an MRI for any reason at all, we would have no choice but to have a wave surgery because we have no way of actually finding the target. Without doing that, it's actually quite rare. There are some patients that do the logic surgery wave target. That's pretty uncommon. There's some potential. I don't recommend it. It's not fun. But it is an alternative technique. And a lot of the things that you can see on the talk about wave surgery, so it's conventional. Primarily, at least in my practice, basically all patients have surgery. This is a play. This is a recording of someone's brain during surgery. I heard of this. It's on a sunflower. So we also have a sleeping application. So we sometimes do this in the MRI. We call it the Parkinson technique. I know that they've come here and talked to Oklahoma too. long time that was the most precise way to implant these lead cells. It is very precise. We can do it all the time. Basically, the other thing about it is we know we can do it in one bit of them too, with really equal accuracy, which is something that's exactly today. So we offer it both in the operating room and in the if you compare them head to head, looking at the accuracy of the electro placement, at least the studies that have been done, MRI-based implementation has been slightly more accurate, but at least in my practice, and as far as my case goes, I really haven't seen any difference, and that's true for a lot of places. There are newer technologies that are coming online soon, probably in the next year or two, that will kind of improve the access to sleep surgery and operating room. Because right now, one of the downsides of doing surgery and an MRI is you don't always get enough time, 3 months to do a lot of these surgeries, so you really need a little bit of access. So I'm not done with that. But basically, point is you can also do sleep. There's lots of things in the United States that do that now. Using speakerphone technique and MRI. You can also do the operating room. Using OLED cameras and capturing things like the surgery and speech perspective and anything out there. So we talked about the concepts. This is why I want to put that before so I have a picture of this. I'm not so concerned about these guys, but I'll tell you what I know about them and what I think patients have said. There's three also manufacturers. One is Abbott. With Boston Scientific and one from Chiang. Those are the three that are available just around the home in the U.S. There are stores in the United States, but very few companies I don't think we can realize them. Not working with them. These are just the pictures of the profiles of the equipment, of the battery, which is the silver chemistry, and then the things behind them, the tablet program, and the initial user knowledge of the program provides. So what are the differences basically between these two? There are a lot of subtle differences, but at the end of the day, this is kind of what it goes down to the reason why. So with the Atlas system, all systems are kind of direct funding. You need an electrode that allows current to steer in the brain. So a neurologist can really fine-tune the programming by testing exactly which way the field is pointed. Usually we have to sort of talk about the differences between the technologies, the conventional electrode versus electrical, current steering electrode, and now all these companies offer. Seems to be better option because they just want to flexibility as far as programming and everything is concerned. But pretty much across the board, like I said, all these companies have the same concept in this direction. The differences in the batteries, that's really where a lot of the differences come. With the Abbott system, they offer a non-rechargeable battery. You have 2 piece battery life compared to a system, basically. We have a rechargeable battery that's coming on that soon. It's not quite available yet. I don't know, I guess that'll be today, but anyway, it's not common to market yet, but they are coming up with a rechargeable system. But right now, we don't have non-rechargeable hardware. The trade-off with their system is that it typically has a little bit of interest battery life, even though it is non-rechargeable. And they also have a program inside their system called Remote Care, which allows you to have programming and diagnostics done on the system at home using a telephone system. So you don't actually have to be in person to do that. The next company is Boston Scientific. They do have a rechargeable option and non-rechargeable option. Their system is very different. That's what separates them from the other companies. Everything's a little bit smaller. It also is a real durable system. It's almost over-engineered to some degree. It gives it a lot of versatility and versatility. With it, Boston Scientific, translating now, do use it for the targets. This helps the neurologist program the device a little bit better. I'll show some pictures here in a minute to kind of show what I mean by that. But that's something that we do with Boston Scientific as well. Also, Medtronic, they've been in the business the longest. We have rechargeable and non-rechargeable option. What kind of separates them is they have this thing called sensing technology, which we'll talk about a little later. We also have 3D imaging to recharge it, similar to Boston. It's a different type of system that they use to do the imaging, but does this. They also have access to wearable technologies, so some of them is a technical stride basically will make you watch that can basically record when your printer is worse or what or not so bad. It can record when you're having worse diseases and vitamins, which is almost like a diary. Eventually, the goal without really jumping too far ahead would be that the watch could really talk to the system and it can adjust a little bit better. But we're not quite there yet. But that's when it comes to more time into this space as far as wearable technology. So it is available to patients if interested. A lot of it's components in many types of fashion. It doesn't connect to your body in a regular So here's the sort of profile for what the heart rate looks like. This is all components here, actually. So if you need a patch that goes into the skull, hopefully electrical post that you can know. These are the two batteries. These are the 40 canisters. And then the phone is an iPhone, and a tablet's an iPad. So the Abbott system runs off like the Apple OS. So you can actually control your system from your iPhone, which is an app, which is unique to their system. This is kind of showcasing there. And then what kind of makes them special versus other companies is this idea of remote care. So basically it's a virtual telemedicine system that allows your neurologist to access the system with your permission virtually. Video conference with you during that time. So there's a little video here. It's called Neurosurgeon. So it's kind of like this. It's basically a safety kind of like what you do versus Google. The difference is they can actually access the battery over the internet wirelessly as long as it's not there. So it gives you a little more flexibility for people that live a long ways away or can't make it to that internet. So sometimes it's very beneficial. Boston. So again, this is kind of the caveat as far as what kind of separates the equipment from the others. There's some pictures under the pictures of the battery. The left is the non-rechargeable and the right is the rechargeable. All of these systems are MRI conditional, meaning that you can have the application done and still never MRI. There's under what's called conditional status, meaning that when you go into an MRI, you have to tell the MRI people, oh, I have a system. In some cases, you have to close the system in the correct MRI mode before they'll be able to scan. And it also changes what the MRI technicians believe they can actually scan, so they call it conditional. Otherwise, if it was completely compatible and nothing had to change, they would say, you're not compatible, but conditional is sort of like a caveat saying that you have to make a couple changes to how the scans are done, and it's true of all particular systems, but you see still at the end of the day. So this is the one that extra visibility that Boston Factory has built into their system. Just for this graphical that I just showed, they kind of, like I said, they're over-engineering the system, not too bad, but it's basically every single individual wire is isolated. And the idea is that it creates a more durable system so that it lasts longer and you're not ideas prone to failure or short circuits and things like that. These systems are pretty rugged in general. They can put a bit of abuse. It's not very common to have any issues with the hardware once it's started in the wires and battery once it's in place. But this does keep some people from snacks to make sure that we're talking about these different companies. This is a picture of the 3D targeting software that Boston uses. This is actually from their website. So what you can see here, looks like this image of what the system is able to do once the electrode is in place. They can take your MRI and then fragment it, and it can show a 3D picture of the actual structure that we're trying to put the electrode into. So in this picture here, this is the S2N at the leukemia scale. So it's cold, and it's just the size of the tube. And that electrode is right down the middle of it. So it's helpful so that when you go for your programming and adjustments, this gives the neurologist an idea of exactly where the levers are at and where they can make adjustments to try to get you the best therapy possible. These other smudges there, those blobs, are different areas of the brain stem. That red dot there is that eye that we saw on the MRI. That's called the red nucleus. It's one part of that. And the blue is the motor circuit. So the idea of here is that you can visualize the electrode where it's at. Just so that you change how you're doing programming, you might be able to expedite programming and adjustments and things on that nature. This is just a program that's doing that. It's very complicated. This is something cool and beautiful the neurologist does, but I actually have an idea about it. But the idea is that basically different parts of the electrode will be activated in relationship to the position on that image of the structure. It's pretty cool. This is something that these companies have been talking about for a while, and now it's fortunately available, and we realize it now. It's actually really helpful. Most neurologists are pretty visual view of the electrodes. So that's about these things I'm trying. Just to kind of report about them and go through mainly what recent technology was also created for management too. So we talked earlier that this is really good at helping with this on-and-off motor fluctuation. So this is just a graphic from that the company made. So earlier different brain signals or signatures that come about when they run through your brain and opposite. And so we can track that with an really precise discussion after of the data data. Not that it's crazy over, but anyway, that's what we're looking for is basically a biomarker that's electrical in the brain. And so their system is able to not only send energy to the brain to the stimulation, but also record that same kind of signature. So those weird sounds that we can hear that side, that's kind of what I'm talking about. That changes basically depending on the state of the disease. Like the best time state, that signal is different than when you're in your most top state. And so the system itself can listen and track that. There's no specified programming, and then the idea, it's not quite there yet, maybe 5 years, 10 years or so, we have a system that can adjust itself based on the system. It's not quite mainstream yet. The first patient is kind of an experimental prototype, and that system was implanted about a little over a year ago in the study shop. So it's a ways off from prime time, but that's coming. But right now, it can do exactly what it's advertised to do. It's a sensing that helps kind of give your neurologist sort of almost like the exactive diary of your symptoms in a way, and it's also a quick program. So this is just a visual representation of that data payment. So when the graphic looks there, it's kind of like the C4 and the Doppler or something. It's just signal characteristics. And so the system is able to pick those up and basically mark that so you can see. You can literally pick up the tablet, carry it with the battery, and see all the different pieces of that. And really, it's actually pretty interesting and fun. Definitely more to come up first. I think this is a big deal in the field. And obviously, it's still new, but it's pretty interesting. This is again kind of doing the same thing. This is just basically what the tablet looks like. So it's able to take that really advanced information there and sort of distill it into different graphs of the different conditions we use to change therapy and so forth. This is a picture of what they call Parkinson, which is that's kind of visual representation of the brain stimulation curve of the brain. So it's showing the same thing with the prior pictures of the brain stimulation to the left hand, and the left hand in that area, the right and most red, you have one on both sides. So it's helpful for the neurologist to see this, to see exactly how they do it, so they can make programming changes. Ideally, you're showing time, sort of adjustment time, the programming, and also this is a more system complex of the system, like that place helps in the adjustment. Okay. That is basically all I'm talking about in the hours. So let's talk about the focus of Chiang now. I know there's a lot of interest in that, and I'm going to ask to talk about a lot, so we'll go through that now. So a few things I'll focus on some of what I've been talking about. It's really meant more for summer patients, but I do want to at least add to this to this so you know what it is and what it's like compared to global rules in Parkinson's patients. So it is FDA approved for simple tremor and for tremor-dominant Parkinson's disease. Now that being said, it's really only meant for positive cases of really severe tremor in Parkinson's patients. The treatment itself doesn't help the other illnesses in Parkinson's, so it doesn't help on concentration, it doesn't help stiffness, it doesn't help firmness, it doesn't help dyskinesia, it only helps now in certain cases. It's not great at reducing tremor in Parkinson's patients, but it's utilized as a kind of option for some. So basically, what is essential tremor? Essential tremor is really more tremor that occurs with action. Right? So it's making sure that really mainly happens when we're going to reach for something. Most of the time, we think of a Parkinson's tremor as a resting tremor that goes away when you go reach for something. You know, that can be otherwise. You can have a little bit of tremor with action and illness. The Parkinson's patients have both. And we also look at some essential tremor for this time. It can even be sometimes confusing as to this is Parkinson's or the rest of the tremor. But basically, we think of this tremor as action-based tremor. These are run up families, a lot of people, dad had it, dad had it, grandpa had it, I had it, kid had it, that sort of thing. About 10% of the population is affected by it. Not everyone is anything invasive. A lot of times it's not either not treated and just sort of tolerated to some degree, or treated with medications such as hormonal condom. Only tremor medications for people on Parkinson's disease too is tremor. So there are different ways of doing what the ultrasound system does. So after the same graphic that we have, obviously, we talked about that quite a bit. The other sort of side of the change is this technique of reasoning. So the ultrasound falls under that family. So there are different ways of doing it. In the past, you could place a small thermal wire down into the brain and use heat to burn small little holes in the specific area of the brain to stop the center. People have used a laser fiber to do that. It's called NIC. It's called incision and all that. Some people have used radiation and analyzed the focus radiation in the C14. The downside of the incision, but the downside of that is the way that it's radiation. The ultrasound kind of takes all of the good things that these studies have and does it primarily. So it's really why it's come to the forefront statistic. What's special about it is that it's no incision, it's no incision, it's outpatient. Again, it launches some. And the results you need, and you can actually test the area of the brain that you're going to see before actually making a permanent injury from injury to the brain that's intentional to you to treat the syndrome. So that's kind of makes it special. The other techniques either require an incision or engagement of the brain with a wire or something like that to work. Depending on the difference between this ultrasound is that you don't know if there is feeling of pressure on your hoping that it is because it's too thick. For a while after that therapy, so I'll do that for us. This is basically just one side of the selling MRI. It's outpatient. You do have to put a film on the patient's head. That's not the worst part of it. You'll wait for the whole thing. You go down to the MRI table, the film walks through the table. In the treatment, the actual solution that sends the energy into the brain. It's right there. It's like a flash. There's no anesthesia that's used outside of this numbing medicine. There's a little pinprice that gets put in the scalp. Again, the results instant. Basically, kind of looks like this picture's going to usually about 1,000 otherwise optimized ultrasound emitters in sort of a bone configuration and pulling them all at a target. And then the field is sort of done in the hand and time up with the magma graph. And you put them all combined to generate heat or energy. And that causes a small burn and that causes a sort of flow. That's kind of the best picture I've seen. Sort of be describing it. So, when you're evaluated during the procedure, people that are candidates for this, at least here in Oklahoma, you have to have diagnosed with central training. We have to remember the factory and apply medicine and they're not working on all of this is meant to take place in medicine. The thing has to be saved and not to see it. You have to have them along because treatment signs in the life. And you can't have Parkinson because it's the rate of the life. And you have to pass the prelim CAT scan that's checking the stool density ratio and the pulse not just one screening test with the rapid procedure. Again, how it works is this will found a way to basically culminate the normal to that structure and we test that at low power to make sure you're in the right spot. If you're in the right spot and you can get something cover then you can make it permanent and you turn the valve and then just hold it under and that's it. It's all that big. Over time, your scalp's full of ice cold water. It's kind of a weird experience altogether. You have to have your head shaved for this. You have to have your haircut too, yes, but this is a real head shave with a razor engagement. That's part of what this can do. So how good is it? So with the simple tool patients, this is the paper that I've pulled everything and understand how it gets down. So basically, if you look at a simple tool patients, how Parkinson's patients, at 5 years, 55 to 65% of patients depending on high rate literature have continued treatment reduction. So it really does fall in the older patients. But it also means that some patients have recurrence of their trend or they don't have improvement of their kind with the treatment. It's not common as far as in the groups that didn't have improvement of their trend 5 years later or didn't fall 5 years later, or the treatment has to kind of wear out to the time. That's something that we do see. But most often, the tremor improvement is still holding after a few months, usually 10 or 8 months. There's the possibility of it recurring and maybe after the treatment. So that's really the big downside of it is that it may work initially and kind of wear out. If it fails, I will go back and we'll talk about that. There are some risks with it, although they're relatively low. Everybody gets something to do with a balance after the treatment, so they can really kind of make you wobble for a while. The vast with those patients that goes away over time for about a week or two, although it can persist long term. That's not very common at all, but there's numbness or tingling that can happen after the treatment from the side that's treated. You may have some weakness that typically goes away over time. It's really uncommon to have any of those problems long term, whether it means a hospital or it's not. this is true probably forever. You can only have treatment of the body, treatment of the brain on one side of the tongue to fix sides. So you see they say, if I have tumor on both arms, another tumor abdomen on the fist. And so we do that, and we do have to go away 9 months how the other side treated. So you can have both treated, but you can have it at the exact same time. That's just the rules with how the system works and what the FDA is. And like I was trying to say earlier, but I kind of skipped ahead, what if it doesn't work? So you can try to retreat in certain circumstances, that's a good option, sometimes it's not. Or you can test other legal recommendations with it. So even if you have a simple tumor, we do basic measures for those patients as well. They can be used as a backup option. So these are just our spaces here that we next to the open call clipboard. During the procedure, we have basically draw a line while we're doing the procedure. There's a bunch of blankets that you get through the fold on the screen. So here's an example of this person brought up the first their family area. So that's the beginning of the treatment over there on the far left. And then on the right, that's the end of it. So that's that day. So as we treat, we find that spot and make the time to really things out there, kind of items and actually reproduction. Organization, creative example. So for the spot that that's for the input. So it's really powerful to replicate the central funding. And so what about other diseases, right? So through the top of all. So it's very difficult right now to be able to get authorization for this procedure in this region. We're really concerned with incentive fee. It's not impossible. But that being said, it's not very common treatment that we use for Parkinson's disease symptoms that is really consistent. And it's not related for Parkinson's patients. It's for that circle tumor patients, but for whatever reasons it's not as good for Parkinson's tumor, but it can be used. Usually, most centers is really nice. Use this as a preventative option. So patients who simply can't undergo surgery because of different health reasons, can't really go on to do so. As long as they can use it as a stable tumor, and just want to have improvement for quality of life, this is an option on those patients. But again, it's very, very selective as far as that goes. So at least want to mention this to say, even this was a question I asked about a lot. To kind of walk you through what this is and how it works. We have this system here in Oklahoma that we use for most areas. We started with this all the way in January, we started there in March. We took about 2 years for patients, but it's a holistic treatment for most of them. We've got some more out there. Okay, well that's kind of the end of my talk. Here's some contact information for you guys. So we're actually now on the website, just a little long address on the bottom there. You can Google movement disorder, and that will take you to a really good website that gives you access to neurology, to us. That bottom link is to actually the website, the main website, health.com, and then over some different numbers. The key number there is actually for the ultrasound system. So you can recommend a team for the patient support staff for the health access and the patients. So anyway, that's all I had. Good for the relevant. Yeah, which is better. Yeah. Well, I don't propose some shots. Yeah, I think, it's an art form. There are some docs that are really good at it, and some I think that we put in and we can all move it on. But it can be used for, I agree with all things. I don't really treat with anything, but I definitely think it's a lot of things. Cosmetic, and everything. It's a thing that people who's got to do. Just what they typically treat, or just is there like a description or something like that? I don't have an age limit. I don't do any of that. Really, what matters is health age, which is kind of hard to know. What I mean by that is, you could be 50 and have a ton of medical issues, and maybe that's more dangerous than somebody who's 85 who doesn't have any medical problems. So, the only thing about that is that it is harder on you as you get older to undergo general anesthesia. So the surgery itself is basically really age, honestly. But what does play a bigger role is just what anesthesia does to the brain when you're older. It can set people back cognitively. It can set people back mentally for any kind of surgery. And so that's a big consideration. We've gotten plenty of patients through later for these solutions fine, but that's something to look at. or this is like kind of new way of doing it and had a lot of success. It may be that in the future that's something that's an issue. Right now it's still pretty limited. I'll just say that, to me, about the only thing I can do that might help that would be something like self-reflection, because the targets that we use in the brain typically don't help that at all. And in fact, sometimes it can get side effects and have worse than balance after DBS. And so it's not incredibly common that can happen. All right, well, we're going to be out here in 30 seconds. Start your timer. All right. You probably noticed on the back of your order is an evaluation. If you just leave that in your chair or at our table and we pick those up, it helps us know if we're on track or off track on what we're doing here. Second, if you are inclined to give a donation, we have some envelopes on our table. One way or the other, we're probably going to send you a letter or two. The next one, if you want to give donations, is the one that has this logo on it. Okay? That's the only one that the money comes to us. So, that's who you're trying to get to. That is us. And I also want to say thank you to our partners, to our speakers, to our staff, to our great volunteers, to St. Luke's, to Sam up there. We managed a lot of wild speakers. They're pretty good, but mainly, we're here because you are dealing with Parkinson. That's the whole point. My favorite part of the work that I do is the people that I meet. And we find that you are curious, resilient, determined, buoyant, and sometimes you don't feel like it, but you are. And we are here to champion you because you are the best.